Hi there, I'm Kim Vanel, taking you through some of the things people are talking about and the stuff they're sharing around the world on Newsfeed today. Protests against plans to develop sacred Maori land reach tipping point. Is this the end of Jacinda mania? An internal memo from a Google staffer alleging gender discrimination does the rounds. Will the tech industry ever make a change? We'll tell you why 30 to 50 hogs has become the most searched phrase on the internet. And 7.5 million views can't be wrong. Meet the pianist who is melting hearts on the internet. What started out as a land dispute is morphing into a wider political movement in New Zealand. Maori people have long felt the effects of colonialism, land confiscation and discrimination. But anger has reached tipping point as private developers move to build on sacred land. And the country's leader, Jacinda Ardern, previously praised for her compassion and progressiveness, is now under fire, with some asking whether it's all just for show. They call themselves the protectors of Ihumatao, and around the clock they're occupying this sliver of land in South Auckland. One final attempt to stop the construction of 480 homes on the outskirts of Tamaki Makaurau, land that for Maori is sacred.
So it's just a privilege to come down and awhi with them and stand with them. So despite what our current situation is, we're going to be here.
The land belonged to local Maori until the Crown waged war against the supporters of the Maori king in 1863. Even though the people of Ihumatao had taken neither side, they were forced to either join the British or flee. They left, and the land was confiscated. Today, social media is both organising and galvanising supporters.
This is a call out to all our supporters across the motu to come to Ilhumato and stand with us to protect our whenua from development.
And it's putting Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern under pressure.
This is an open letter to the Prime Minister of New Zealand. Jacinda Ardern, we, the tamariki of Ihumatao, are pleading with you to stop the crisis here.
Maori say her image as a compassionate leader, cemented during the Christchurch terror attacks, is being undone. And as police increase their numbers on the Ihumatao protest site, a showdown is the last thing anyone wants.
First of all, bring soul to the table. Stop ignoring the people here. You can't just make it like this is not happening. You've got to bring the people to the table.
Maori discontent is growing ahead of next year's elections. Outside Parliament, thousands stood in the wet, demanding the government end the state practice of taking at-risk children away from their families. Children facing harm from dangerous or abusive parents are moved into state care, and statistics show Maori babies are the ones being taken.
We've fought for a lot, Maori, and it's time we fought for our children to keep them together, and the stats just over-represent the fact that state care doesn't take better care of our children. And so why are they asking for them? Why are they taking them when they clearly should be kept with whānau?
Whānau is the Maori word for family, and it's at the heart of their concerns. Families torn apart and land lost forever. They say takes a toll for generations. Well, to talk a little bit more about this, we have Kahu Kutia, a journalist from Nai Tuhoe, who is joining us from Te Whanganui Te Tara from Wellington. So first off, Kahu, where are things at right now at the protest site now?
But 2 weeks ago, police issued an eviction notice to those who were on the land at Ihumatao. Just last night, they increased their presence, and there was a minor alert for those who want to protect the land to come to Ihumatao, because it was it was feared that police would push protectors off the land. But today the police commissioner has been at Ihumatao. Protectors have returned to the land, and things are proceeding as normal and as peacefully as possible.
And where has Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern been in all of this? Many are asking. She was really vocal about protecting Indigenous rights when she first came to power, right?
We're seeing a lot of people dissatisfied with the leadership of Jacinda Ardern. And, you know, throughout her time so far as Prime Minister, she has done a lot of really great things, and her response to the Christchurch terror attacks was to be commended. But we've seen her silent on the issue of Ilhumato. We've seen her consistently call the protectors at Ilhumato young, when in fact we know that those protecting the land are supported by many of their elders. We've seen her also continually say, protectors, please be peaceful on the land. And that is somewhat frustrating, considering that that's all we've all done so far. And in fact, it is the police who have so far been heavy-handed in their response.
And finally, can you just explain for our international audience why this connection with the land is so important for Maori?
Well, I mean, as Maori, and in fact, internationally, it's pretty similar for all Indigenous peoples. We see ourselves as part of the land. We see ourselves as descended from. For myself and my tribe, we consider Hinepu Kohurangi, who is the mist maiden, so that's the mist that settles on our mountains. We consider her to be our ancestor, and similarly with Maori, we consider the whenua, the land, what we call Papa Tuanuku, or Mother Earth, to be our ancestor. And as such, we see ourselves as connected and look to protect. I mean, you know, this is not a unique issue to New Zealand, to Aotearoa. We see the same thing happening with Mauna Kea in Hawaii. We see the same thing happening in Australia as Indigenous people there try to protect ancient birthing trees. We see the same thing in Canada at Unistoten. And really all over the world, Indigenous people in some form or another are currently fighting to protect their land.
Thanks for that. That's Kahu Katia there. Now, let's have a look at what else is trending around the world this Tuesday.
May God bless the memory of those who perished in Toledo. And may God protect them. May God protect all of those from Texas to Ohio.
Donald Trump is under fire for mistakenly referring to the wrong town while talking about one of the mass shootings in the States this weekend. At the end of his speech, he asked God to bless the memory of those who perished in Toledo, Ohio. But the attack he was talking about, of course, happened in Dayton, Ohio. And in case anyone was wondering if they simply heard wrong, no, the White House sent out an official transcript of the speech with "in Toledo" simply crossed out. The attacks once again raised the debate about gun control, leading to discussions about assault weapons, leading to this legit question from William McNabb. He asked how he can kill the 30 to 50 feral hogs that run into his yard while his kids play. And that, my friends, was the relief from the horror that the internet clearly needed. Cue 30 to 50 feral hogs quickly took off with some quality memes like this one. Notification, the hogs are in the yard. And not surprisingly, those not so fond of Trump found a way to connect the two, like Real Viking Cat, who posted this, or Nate, who took the gun control adage and tweaked it. We don't need guns to combat 30 to 50 feral hogs, we just need 30 to 50 good guy hogs. A cartographer has designed a new world map with the sole purpose of taking the mickey out of every person who looks at it. Now, you see, Canada has been given America's flag. I mean, they are basically the same, right? Scotland got Nigel Farage, pretty self-explanatory. Kazakhstan is blessed with the face of fictional dictator Borat. Putin is flying the colours of pride in New Zealand. Surprise, surprise, it's not even on the map. A Google memo has gone viral within the company highlighting gender discrimination. It's not the first time Google has been hit with allegations of gender pay gaps and unequal opportunities, and it seems other tech giants are having the same issues. Here's Adama.
In a viral memo, a Google employee has laid out a damning portrait of discrimination. The memo titled, "I'm not returning to Google after maternity leave and here is why," was shared with 10,000 employees in the company's internal message board. The woman says her manager made discriminatory remarks about pregnant women. And after reporting her manager to HR, she says it led to retaliation, which included angry emails, vetoed projects, and public shaming. According to the Pregnancy Discrimination Act, it is illegal for companies to discriminate against people on the basis of pregnancy, childbirth, or related medical conditions. It's not the first time accusations of discrimination have hit Google. Following a long legal process dating back to 2015, Google is to pay out $11 million to people who claimed they were denied jobs because of their age. In September 2017, 3 women sued Google for pushing female workers towards lower-paying career paths. Thousands of workers protested in a walkout over pay and opportunity inequalities last November. In a statement, a Google spokesperson said,
"We prohibit retaliation in the workplace and publicly share our very clear policy to make sure that no complaint raised goes unheard at Google. We give employees multiple channels to report concerns, including anonymously, and investigate all allegations of retaliation."
But it's not just Google. Tech companies seem to be having a gender problem, and it isn't exactly new. Gender and racial bias was found in Amazon's facial technology last year. And while Apple received an A- on the US Gender Pay Scoreboard, it was sued last April for violating the California Equal Pay Act for paying women experts less than men for equal or similar work. Even though progress has been made, there's still a long way to go to level the playing field for women, to support and encourage women in a still largely male-dominated industry.
Let's go around the world now for some other stories you need to know on Tuesday. First up, cockroaches' place in popular culture is usually that of the post-apocalyptic survivor, known as much for their resilience as for their creepy, crawly yuckness. Well, turns out they're inspirational as well, at least for researchers at UC Berkeley. They designed a teeny tiny robot inspired by the insect that could be used in the future during earthquake rescue operations or any other time people need a tiny explorer. Like the bug, the robot is hardy and can apparently withstand a human stepping on it. Continuing with the cockroach theme, Brazil's far-right President Jair Bolsonaro says he hopes, quote, "criminals will die in the streets like cockroaches." A blunt statement, even for him. Bolsonaro made the comments in an interview about his plans to change Brazil's criminal code to give police more freedom in their fight against crime. Now, you'd think that if you're begging, you probably don't have spare cash floating around. Well, tough luck if you're down on your luck in the Swedish town of Eskilstuna. Authorities there have rolled out a controversial begging permit. It means anyone who wants to ask for money on the streets first needs to register with authorities, pay the 250 kroner or $26 fee, and get a license. Sweden's been cracking down on beggars recently. Another town went all the way to the Supreme Court trying to uphold a ban on begging altogether. We here on Newsfeed like to leave you feeling good. So here's a video which has made 7.5 million other people feel just that way. This is 81-year-old Patrick, captured playing a spontaneous tune on a piano at a train station. That was magic enough. But he's then joined by a total stranger who jumps in to turn it into a duet in perfect time. Patrick can be heard in the background directing the young upstart about key changes and so on. It's all very sweet. To top it off, Patrick, who had never heard of YouTube before being shot to internet fame, now has his own channel. And that's it from the Newsfeed team. Reach out to me with your questions, comments, complaints and suggestions at Kim Vanel, and you'll find us 24/7 on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Follow, subscribe and add, and we'll see you tomorrow.